was one of masterful training or a genuine, albeit unusual, form of affection. But as you look at these magnificent creatures who allow you into their space, who trust you to provide for them, you feel it's a question with an obvious answer. This is more than a job. It is a life. The building itself is a testament to the bird's value. The Mews was a specialized structure, often built with more care than the barracks for the castle guards. The name itself comes from the old practice of keeping hawks in a place where they mewed or molted their feathers. You run a hand along a thick wooden perch, its surface worn smooth by years of use and the grip of powerful talons. Everything is meticulously clean. The sand on the floor is raked daily, and the walls are kept free of anything that could damage a trailing feather. Some falconers, especially those training a particularly valuable or temperamental bird, were known to sleep right here in the mews, just as you do. The belief was that constant, quiet proximity would man the hawk, a term for taming it and accustoming it to the presence of humans. It was a process that required near infinite patience. You reach the end of the corridor and pause, listening. The soft rustling has subsided. The birds are calm, watching you, waiting. The day has begun not with a clang or a shout, but with a shared, silent understanding. The hunt will come later with its flash of speed and primal thrill. But the morning, this quiet, sacred time, belongs to you and the hawks alone. It's a silent conversation, a ritual of trust that sets the foundation for everything to come. Your first task is precise and non-negotiable, a ritual as old as the art of falconry itself. You walk to a sturdy wooden chest at the end of the mews, the one piece of furniture besides your bed. Lifting the heavy lid, you retrieve a small, delicate set of brass scales. They are beautiful, a far cry from the crude iron scales used in the castle kitchens. This is a tool of science and sensitivity. It consists of a simple beam balanced on a central pivot, with a small pan on one side for weights and a miniature perch on the other. It's the most high-stakes diet plan in the entire castle, and you are its sole administrator. You carry the scales to the first perch, where Otho the goshawk is waiting. He watches you with an unnerving intelligence, his dark eyes seeming to look right through you. Unlike the peregrines, who are birds of the open sky, goshawks are masters of the dense woods, and they carry a certain fierce, untamable energy. You unclip his leash from the main perch and offer him your gloved fist. He steps onto it without hesitation, his talons gripping the thick leather with a pressure that you can feel even through the layers of hide. It's a familiar weight, a solid, living presence on your arm. You whisper a soft, reassuring sound, a low whistle that is just for him. He does so with a slight rustle of his wings, settling his weight. The beam of the scale dips, and you begin placing small lead weights into the years, until the beam balances perfectly. This is the goal of your armor. A hawk's desire to hold this tight weight to its weight. That is too heavy, balanced. It is not easy to chase prey for you. It will simply fly to the nearest tree and stare down at you with what you can only assume is mild contempt. A bird that is
224 core
is weak.
or up to
It
2
lacks the strength and stamina for
terabytes
a
from
demanding
leap
hunter
years.
and may be injured.
Just get started.
Every
Just
single hawk has its own perfect flying weight, a precise condition at which it is healthy, strong, and just hungry enough to be a keen and cooperative hunter. It's a number you know by heart, a figure more important to you than the day or the day of the week. Otho's ideal flying weight is known, but you check it every morning, because even a small variation can change the entire outcome of the day. Today, the scales balance. He is perfect. A quiet feeling of satisfaction settles over you. The day is off to a good start. You gently coax him back into your glove, finding their familiar grip. As you return him to his main perch, falconry manuals from the period, like the famous De Arte Venandi Come Vivas, written by Emperor Frederick II, offer incredibly precise instructions on managing a hawk's weight. However, scholars debate how consistently these detailed texts were followed by working falconers, who often relied on a deep, almost instinctual understanding of their birds, passed down through generations. You don't have a book, but you have this. The feeling of the bird on your glove, the look in its eye, the slight puff of its feathers. You are less a keeper and more a feathery nutritionist with a very demanding client. Next, you move down the line to Alice, the peregrine. Her temperament is different. She is a creature of air and speed, less intense than the goshawk, but with a noble aloofness. You repeat the process, her lighter frame settling on the scale with a different kind of delicacy. Her flying weight is lower, and you use smaller weights to find her balance. She too is in perfect condition. This process is repeated for every bird in the muse. Each one is weighed, for instance, that a sharp drop in weight can be the first sign of illness, a subtle clue that allows you to act before the sickness takes hold. This morning ritual isn't just about preparing for the hunt. It's about ensuring the health and survival of these incredibly valuable animals. The Lord may own them, but you are their keeper. Their lives, in a very real sense, are balanced on the edge of this small brass scale. And as you put the scales away, the muse is now filled with the faintest morning light, and you feel ready. The first test of the day is over. You and your hawks have passed. Now that the weigh-in is complete, the morning's menu can be decided. It is a meal plan of exquisite subtlety. Otho and Alice, being at their ideal flying weight, will not eat now. To feed them would be to invite laziness, to dull that fine, sharp edge of hunger that makes them such perfect hunters. Their reward will come later, warm and fresh from the field. But a few of the other birds require a different approach. There's a young kestrel still learning whose weight needs to be gently increased, and an older merlin who flew a hard hunt yesterday and needs his strength replenished. For them, you turn to your larder. If the castle cook could see your pantry, he would likely scoff, then perhaps become deeply confused. Your food stores
Steady
are not
and measured.
You
keep your gloved arms slightly bent,
and in many ways,
absorbing the motion of your stride so that Otho has a stable platform. He is a silent, regal presence on your fist, his head constantly turning, scanning the
Inside is a
fields.
strange and particular collection. There are no sacks of grain or turnips here. Instead, you see small cuts of meat, neatly arranged on a clean stone slab. There's the breast of a pigeon, the leg of a chicken, and a piece of beef heart, all acquired from the castle kitchens through a mixture of charm and firm insistence. Medieval falconers were quite clear on this point. Their birds were not to be fed scraps. The quality of their diet directly impacted the quality of their performance, and a sick hawk was an expensive tragedy. You select a small portion of chicken breast and place it on a clean, worn wooden block that serves as your cutting board. Your knife is small and wickedly sharp, honed to a razor's edge. You begin to slice the meat into tiny, bite-sized pieces, each one no bigger than your thumbnail. The sound of the blade slicing cleanly through the meat is soft and satisfying. This isn't just food. It's a precisely calibrated tool. Every morsel is part of your training regimen, a reward, an encouragement, a way to build trust. Beside the meat sits a small clay pot. You lift the lid, revealing a pat of soft pale butter. This is one of the secrets of your trade, a tidbit of knowledge that would seem bizarre to an outsider. On certain days, especially when conditioning a bird for a long flight or helping it maintain health in the cold, you will add a tiny amount of fat to its food. Some falconers even used a pinch of sugar. It was a medieval version of an energy bar, a rich supplement to provide stamina. Historians still debate the true purpose of these additives. Was it a surprisingly astute understanding of calories and conditioning, or was it rooted in the complex medieval theory of humors balancing the bird's internal state? You don't know the theory, only the results. A little butter can help a bird maintain its condition without adding too much gross weight. You take a minuscule smear of the butter on the tip of your knife and mix it with the small pile of chopped chicken. You then portion it out. The young kestrel gets a slightly larger share to bring its weight up. The merlin gets a smaller, leaner portion, just enough to restore its energy without making it complacent. This is a meal served not by the bowlful, but by the gram. You also prepare what is known as a casting. You take a small pinch of fur or soft feather and roll it up with a few tiny morsels of meat. This is important. After a hawk digests its meal, it will regurgitate a small, neat pellet, the casting, containing all the indigestible bits, bones, fur, and feathers. A clean, firm casting is a sign of a healthy digestive system. As the falconer, you will examine these castings with the focused attention of a royal physician examining a king's. Well, you try not to think about that comparison too much. With the meals prepared in separate small wooden bowls, you approach the chosen birds. You offer the food to the young kestrel first, holding the bowl out on your gloved hand. The little bird hops from its perch, lands delicately on your fist, and eats with a quick, nervous energy, its head bobbing. But there is no aggression, only acceptance. This quiet act of feeding is as much a part of the manning process as anything else. It teaches the bird that you are the source of all good things. Once the meals are distributed, you clean your knife and cutting block with meticulous care. The muse is not a place for mess or decay. It is a sanctuary of controlled, natural perfection. The morning is still young, the air is still crisp and cold, but you have already performed a dozen tiny, crucial tasks. You have been a scientist, a nutritionist, and a chef for the most demanding clientele in the kingdom. And now, with the birds tended to, your mind turns to the tools of the trade, not the living ones, but the leather and brass that are just as vital to the hunt. Your attention now turns to the newest resident of the Mews, a young peregrine falcon captured just a few weeks ago. He is what is known as a passenger, a bird caught on its first migration. He has known the wild, open sky, and he has not yet accepted his new life. He is tethered to a low perch in a quieter, more secluded part of the Mews, away from the calm confidence of the veteran hunters. As you approach, he shifts nervously, his body a tense knot of muscle and feather. His eyes, wide and dark, are filled with a fierce, burning panic. He lets out a sharp, distressed cry, a sound that cuts through the quiet atmosphere of the Mews. This is the most difficult and delicate work you will ever do. It is the process of manning, the slow, painstaking art of transforming a wild, terrified creature into a willing partner. It is a battle of wills fought not with force, but with stillness and near infinite patience. You pull up a small, three-legged stool, its wood dark and smooth with age, and you sit. You place the stool just close enough for the hawk to see you clearly, but not so close that he feels cornered. And then you wait. You don't look directly at him. In the language of predators, a direct stare is a challenge, a threat. Instead, you keep your gaze soft, looking at the stone wall just beyond him. You breathe slowly, evenly. You make no sudden moves. For the first hour, he is a whirlwind of fear. He beats his wings against the air, a desperate, frantic movement that falconers call baiting. He pulls against his jesses, straining to escape. He screams his frustration and terror into the quiet room. You do nothing. You are a rock, a tree, an unmoving part of the landscape. You are simply there. This initial stage of manning is famously grueling. Historically, falconers would take a new hawk and keep it on their gloved fists for days and nights on end without sleeping. This constant contact, this shared state of exhaustion, was believed to accelerate the taming process, forcing the bird to accept the human as a constant, non-threatening presence. You haven't had to resort to that level of sleep deprivation with this one yet, but you know the long hours it will take. This is not a task for the impatient. It's the medieval equivalent of a high-stakes meditation retreat, where your guru is a feathered ball of anxiety with a very sharp beak. After what feels like an eternity, the hawk's frantic movements begin to subside. His cries soften into intermittent, unhappy squawks. He still eyes you with suspicion, but the raw panic is ebbing, replaced by wary exhaustion. Now you can begin the next step. From a small pouch at your belt, you produce a single soft feather, the breast feather of a grouse. Very slowly, you extend your hand, not toward the hawk himself, but just into the space near him. He tenses, watching your every move. You hold your hand still until he relaxes slightly. Then, with a movement so slow it's almost imperceptible, you gently, ever so gently, touch the tip of the feather to his chest. He flinches, but doesn't bake. You hold the feather there, a point of soft, unthreatening contact. After a moment, you begin to stroke his breast feathers with it, a slow, rhythmic, downward motion. It's a curious practice, and one that falconers have used for centuries. Some believe the familiar sensation of a feather mimics the preening of a parent bird, triggering a calming, primal memory. You don't know about that. You just know that it often works. His body, which was a rigid line of tension, begins to soften almost imperceptibly. His breathing slows. This is where historians and modern falconers still debate the true nature of manning. Was it a process of breaking the bird's wild spirit, a form of psychological domination? Or was it, as you believe, the slow and methodical building of trust, proving to the bird that this strange, two-legged creature means it no harm? As you sit there, stroking the hawk with a feather, feeling his fear begin to recede, you are convinced it is the latter. You are not his master. You are making an appeal, an offer of a new kind of life. Now comes the most crucial offering, food. From your pouch, you take a tiny, almost minuscule scrap of beef heart. You place it on the thick leather of your glove, holding your fist out toward him, keeping it low and steady. He eyes it than you, his head cocked. He is hungry from the way in, and his instincts are at war. His fear tells him to stay away. His hunger tells him to eat. For a long, silent minute, nothing happens. The fate of your entire relationship with this bird hangs in the balance of this single moment. Then, with a sudden, darting motion, he leans forward, snatches the scrap of meat from your glove, and swallows it. He doesn't fly. He doesn't scream. He simply eats the offering. A wave of quiet relief washes over you. It is the smallest of victories, a gesture that no one else in the castle would ever see or understand. But for you, it is everything. It is the first word in a long conversation. The first step on a journey you will take together. The wildness is still there, burning in his eyes, but it is no longer the only thing. There is now a tiny, fragile seed of trust, and you will sit here on your small wooden stool for as long as it takes to make it grow. Leaving the young peregrine to his quiet contemplation, you move to the part of the muse that is your workshop. It's not grand, just a small, well-lit corner with a solid wooden bench and a collection of specialized tools. Their metal and wooden handles worn smooth and dark from years of your own hands shaping them. Here, the scent of leather is stronger, a rich, earthy aroma that you find deeply comforting. This is where you practice the other half of your art, not the handling of birds, but the crafting of the delicate, essential equipment that makes falconry possible. On the bench lies a collection of leather strips, some new and pale, others old and cracked. Your task this morning is to repair a set of jesses for Otho the goshawk. Jesse's are the two soft leather straps that are always attached to a hawk's legs. One end fits comfortably around the leg, and the other has a slit through which the swivel of the leash is passed. They are the falconer's connection to the bird, and their quality is a matter of life and death. A broken jess in the field means a lost hawk, a loss that is not only a huge financial blow to your lord, but more importantly, a personal tragedy for you. You pick up a strip of new leather. It's soft and supple, most likely sourced from calfskin or dogskin, which were prized for their unique combination of strength and gentleness. Historians note that falconry equipment was rarely made from the hide of animals that the hawks themselves might prey upon, a superstition rooted in the idea that you shouldn't disrespect the prey. You run the leather through your fingers, feeling for any imperfections. It must be perfect. Any rough edge could chafe the bird's leg, causing an injury that could lead to infection. Your tools are simple but effective. You have a small, sharp awl for punching holes, a collection of needles with triangular points for stitching thick hide, and a spool of strong wax thread. You also have a small block of beeswax, which you use to coat your thread, making it stronger and more water resistant. You begin by cutting the new leather into a precise strip, using a pattern you've made from a thin sheet of wood. The shape is specific wider where it will be handled and tapering to a comfortable fit for the bird. With the strip cut, you use the awl to punch a neat row of stitching holes. The motion is practiced and rhythmic, the point of the awl sinking into the leather with a soft, satisfying pop. This is quiet, focused work. It's a time for your mind to be still, to focus on the feel of the tools, the resistance of the leather. It's a form of meditation, a counterpoint to the high-strung energy of handling the birds. The muse is quiet now, the hawks either digesting their small meals or dozing on their perches. The only sounds are the soft scrape of your knife, the pop of the awl, and your own steady breathing. Next, you thread a needle and begin to stitch, reinforcing the slit at the end of the jess. Your stitches are small, tight, and even. This is a point of pride among falconers. The quality of your leatherwork is a public declaration of your skill and your dedication to your craft. A falconer with shoddy, poorly maintained equipment is viewed with suspicion, much like a knight with a rusty sword. It suggests a lack of care, a disrespect for the art. You might joke with the other castle artisans that you re a cobbler for a much more demanding and bitey clientele. Beside the jesses, you are also crafting a new set of bewits. A bewit is a smaller, even more delicate leather strap used to attach the bells to the hawk's legs. The bells are not just for decoration. Their faint, high-pitched ringing allows you to locate a hawk after it has made a kill in thick undergrowth or tall grass. The sound is a beacon, guiding you to your bird. There is a curious fringe belief among some older falconers that the sound of the bell also mesmerizes the prey, a theory for which you have seen absolutely no evidence, but find amusing nonetheless. You work with a focused calm, your hands moving with an economy of motion born from thousands of hours of practice. You stitch, you trim, you smooth the edges of the leather with a polished piece of bone until they are perfectly rounded. When the new jesses are complete, they are not just functional, they are beautiful. They are a testament to the quiet dignity of your craft. You walk over to Otho's perch. He watches you approach, his head cocked. You show him the new jesses, letting him see them, smell them. Then, with a gentle and practiced hand, you unfasten the old, worn straps from his legs and replace them with the new ones. He does not struggle. He allows the touch, a sign of the deep trust you have built between you. You check the fit, making sure they are snug but not tight. He is now secure, ready for the hunt. As you stand back, you feel a quiet sense of accomplishment. You have not forged a sword or built a wall, but you have created something just as vital to the life of the castle. You have ensured the safety of a prized hunter and honored the tradition you are a part of. and in the silent, sun-dusted air of the muse that feels like a victory all its own. The sun is climbing higher now, casting long, soft shadows across the castle bailey. The air is still cold, but the sharp bite of dawn has mellowed into a crisp, clear morning. The young peregrine is settled, the equipment is repaired, and the other birds are resting peacefully. It is time for exercise. Not the raw, unpredictable chaos of the hunt, but a controlled, graceful practice that is as much a dance as it is a drill. It is time to fly the lure. You walk back to your equipment bench and retrieve the lure itself. To an outsider, it looks like a strange, homemade toy. It is essentially a padded leather pouch, roughly the size and shape of a small bird,
about the
stitched
line of
together and
distribution.